Okay, not
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Give It a Voice here at the Voice of Hope Media with myself, AC Beng. So, here at the Voice of Hope Media, we empower, we educate, we inspire, and we give hope to individuals, to families facing challenging or complex life issues. The Voice of Hope Media is a safe space where we encourage people to share their stories, to share their experience, knowing that they won't be judged or stigmatized. So today we are giving a voice to HIV stigma. Yes, we are talking about HIV today because we are on the 5th of November and World AIDS Day it's annually celebrated on the 1st of December. So the Voice of Hope Media thought we should give it a voice. Yes, because this is one of those topics which there is still a lot of taboo attached to this topic. There's still a lot of stigma attached to it. So I just want to welcome each and every one of you watching once more. I am AC, I am AC Beng, and you are all welcome. HIV stigma is negative attitudes and beliefs about people with HIV. When we support people with HIV, we make it easier for them to lead healthy lives. Acceptance and avoidance and avoiding unhealthy coping mechanisms. Each one of us, I mean, just each and every one of us has a role to play in stopping HIV stigma, thereby giving a voice to people living with HIV, as well as their friends and their families. So today, guys, we are, I think we are three of us on the studio. We have Mercy and we have Maxwell. We are still waiting for two other guests, but we will continue while waiting for them to come in. Like I said once more, our our topic of discussion today is HIV stigma, denial, and unhealthy coping mechanisms. Yes, there's a lot of stigma attached to AIDS or HIV AIDS, which in a way makes people feel very uncomfortable talking about it. They feel like they are being rejected in the society, which is one of the reasons why the Voice of Hope Media is in existence. So we give a voice to such topics which most consider very emotional, very sensitive, too taboo to talk about. So we give a voice to them to make it less emotional, to create a conversation around these topics and make those living with, let's say, HIV or any other condition, to make life worth living for them. So while we are waiting for our other guest speakers, so I am going to let in our first guest speaker who is here, Mercy Ebuetse. You're welcome and thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for honoring our invite, even though it's short notice. So I am going to let you introduce yourself as
Okay.
we agreed. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I think you're really doing a great job. This is a platform to educate myself also. I think this is a topic I've most recently been interested in. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Mhm.
My name is Mercy Ebuetse. I'm Nigerian. I'm living here in the US, Utah, precisely, very up in the mountains.
Okay.
I would consider myself an engineer, but currently I work as a procurement specialist in Sarwire, like I mentioned in our previous conversation.
Mhm.
Um, I love to write. I'm very passionate about writing, and one of the reasons why I say your platform resonates with me was when I started my digital print magazine. Started as it started as Shalom Truth, and then it was to inspire and bring hope to people, and I feel that's very important.
Yeah.
So again, I'm very like privileged to be on this platform with something I align closely with.
Mhm.
I'm here on behalf of my mother, Stella Ebuetse. My mom, right from childhood, has always worked with children. She has had this patience to educate children and walk through their difficulties and all of that. So I think she would have been a very great person to. Of course, she inspires a lot of people, a lot of young adults, and
Yeah.
even the older generation. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I'm here to represent my mom. Hopefully, I'm able to fill those shoes.
Yeah.
That's very large. Thank you
Mhm.
for having me.
Thank you so much. Yes, and I'm just seeing quite a lot of comments coming in. Just 1 second. Let me mute. Okay, I'm just seeing a lot of comments coming in, and the hope is that many it's going to this conversation today is going to help many who are being who feel who are being isolated because of a stigma, so they feel they're isolated, and also there's a lot of discrimination as well because of the people's statuses. So we hope, usually at the end of every discussion, I always say that if at least one person is touched, at least one life is touched after our conversation, that makes a massive difference, because we don't have to change the whole world, but as long as one conversation changes a life, it makes a difference. And so, like I said, we aim to educate people on the show. We aim to empower, we aim to give hope, and also to inspire. So we are going to start with our very first question for the day. You've already introduced yourself. And once more, guys, our topic of discussion today is HIV stigma, denial, and unhealthy coping mechanisms. Yeah, oftentimes when we are going through a situation and we are in denial, there are usually things which people do that are not really helpful, that will not really help them in that particular situation. Yes, because of the grief that they go through, because of the sadness and all the emotions that come with these particular issues, it makes it a bit, it makes it really difficult. And again, with the fact that not everyone around you will be able to accept you with your status, or you with the condition you are in, makes it more and more and more difficult. So um for our first question, what do you think will be some of the measures that can be used to stop stigma? Or before we go into that, what do you think HIV stigma is exactly?
Okay. I think for me, the stigma is more so people not. Let me use a very simple example. Just like
Mm,
we have COVID right now, there's like social distancing, right?
yeah,
For me, stigma is more like social distancing.
yeah,
So yeah, that's a very basic example I can give. Where you people are very discriminatory
mm-hmm,
about your status. People don't properly understand, so they define it wrongly, or they generally treat you like you're the virus itself. You
yeah,
know,
mm-hmm,
yeah, that is how I would explain, the stigma. And there's a lot of myth that people have about what HIV is, and that to me is what the stigma is all about.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so generally, I would say, and I don't know if we're answering the first question. I see that you kind of like moved to the second question,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I started with the second one. Then we are going
okay,
to go. Yeah,
we're
but
going to
what? Yeah, but what do you think are the reasons why people are so much scared of HIV?
of
We
HIV.
know, yeah, we know it is contagious depending on how you interact with that person. But what is it that brings on that fear?
So I would say first of all, it's the lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
So like you said, how do people essentially are not educated about why do we have this virus, and why do we have the spread of the virus?
Mm-hmm.
I would say generally why there is that fear, stigma, and all of that attached to it is, first of all, society sees people that have HIV as people that are dirty. A lot of
Yeah.
people that have participated in surveys about their condition have said that, oh, I feel like I'm dirty. I feel like I'm a bad person. So
Mm-hmm.
people don't really understand. So how do I get this? For
Yeah.
example, like we have different situations when people have this. For example, it could be a child very unaware, and the mom, conceiving this child, and from there it's passed on. We have so many scenarios like that, but
Mm-hmm.
society sees it as one way, and
Yeah.
meaning through sex, especially when you come from an African country. Now there's that culture thing of, oh, this person was a wayward person, that's why we have such a situation. So you
Uh-huh.
know so for it's two ways. It's
Mm-hmm.
for the person living with the virus, and it's also for people that or family, friends, and society in general. So the person particularly has this fear because I will be let me say orchestra. No, that's not
Ostracized.
ostracized. Thank you very much. I'll be
Uh-huh.
ostracized from society because of this virus. I'll be
Mm-hmm.
discriminated from in work. Like in the US now, you have to disclose certain disabilities or certain things. How will my colleagues take all of this? So there's that fear of being properly integrated into society after discovering your status that people with the virus are scared of. And then
Mm-hmm.
there is the society themselves that kind of like sees accepting this is as though we're accepting that certain vices or certain things are good in the society. But again,
Mm-hmm.
I say it goes back to the education aspect of people not
Yeah.
knowing what it is and how this virus can be gotten.
Mm-hmm.
And also just going back to people with the virus is also the fear is I have to be on a lot of medications.
Yeah.
I, for one, I'm not a drug type person. So that will be very, I'm telling you, it's going to be very difficult for me, just even
Mm-hmm.
generally taking painkillers during MP. Like, I feel like I have to face the pain so badly before I,
Mm-hmm.
take such. So imagine being on medication almost all through your life. That's
Yeah.
very difficult for a lot of people. So there's that, and there's changes in your nutrition when you have to maybe exercise and all of that. So
Mm-hmm.
I think all of this plus essentially the stigma is the top reason why people are scared or
Mm-hmm.
virus.
Yeah, and I also think that the fear also comes because of because if you have to be on antiretrovirals for a very long time, that means you really have to be financially viable to be able to afford
Mhm,
money to able to buy your drugs every
mhm,
month or as regularly as you need them. But when you do not have this finance viability,
mhm,
how are you going to cope? And maybe that may also be one of the reasons why so many people end up dying, because they didn't have the available finance to help them buy
So
the drugs that they need. So maybe that fear as well, the fear that I may not have enough money, and that, and also the fear that if they disclose, like you said, at the workplace, they will lose their job, and if they lose
Mhm,
their job, then they will not have any money.
mhm.
Yeah, you wanted to add something.
Oh yeah, so I'm not very sure about this information, and it was more so like an additional question. I think that
Mm-hmm.
in some countries they make some of these drugs free. I don't know to what extent.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't
Okay.
necessarily know that they can have this available with little
Mm-hmm.
or no financial impact.
Okay. All right. That's good. And thank you once more, guys, for watching. If you are watching and you think there's someone somewhere who will have something to contribute, or who will have something to learn from our conversation today, bring them on, invite them to join the show. And then, how has HIV stigma contributed to the poor understanding of the virus and its pathway?
Okay. So I would say first of all, this why the stigma has contributed is people don't want to. For example, if you we have clinics back, for example, in Nigeria where
Mm-hmm.
you people know that okay, you're going here for based off signage.
Yeah.
This is where HIV test is being conducted, or this is where people pick up their drugs and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
People are not the little resources that are available because of the stigma. People are not going to access it.
Yeah.
So yeah, people are not getting tested. There are a lot of I was reading the statistics yesterday, and I kind of like saw that 1 in 7 people in the U.S. would have HIV, even though it's still a very rare virus in the U.S. since it's under 200,000. But at
Okay.
the same time, this number of people, 1 in 7 people, or a lot of people don't even know that they have it. So
Mm-hmm.
and the reason I feel is because of the stigma. So how do we start addressing something that we do not want to confront or we do not want to know anything about?
Yeah.
I feel that's where I feel like that's where the issue starts from. And
Mm-hmm.
it still goes back to education. What have we been told? Because even a lot of people currently, why they face difficulties in like living with the virus is the fact that they were once people that looked down, and this is not to cast anybody, honestly,
Yeah.
trust me. Yeah, they were once people that look down on other people. They also don't have proper information about what it is. They
Mm-hmm.
don't they don't understand that it's a learning curve. You need to now go and re-educate yourself
Mm-hmm.
about this thing and get proper information
Yeah.
about it. So I don't know if that answers your question. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah, I think it really it really does. And when I think back, before, especially from Cameroon, where I come from, some people will say I prefer not to know my status. It gives me a peace of mind. But on the other hand, another person will say I prefer to know, so that I know exactly how I'm leading my life, because
Mhm.
you won't want to unconsciously infect someone
Somebody
out
else.
there. And also talking about stigma as well, I also think that sometimes most people attach HIV being contracted a lot through sexual intercourse,
Mhm.
forgetting to know that there are so many other ways that HIV
Yes.
can be contracted. And that may be one of the reasons why stigma still comes in, because once somebody hears that this person is HIV positive, oh yeah, because you
Mhm. They
you
were
you couldn't
promiscuous.
put your couldn't put your
Yeah.
things you couldn't put your things together, and now look at what you've landed yourself in. And so, but it may just be an innocent, maybe an innocent child,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, who was born, or children who have a female genital mutilation, or
Mhm.
through crude methods of circumcision.
Yeah.
Children can have that.
Mhm.
So people being chastised for having um HIV, yeah, it's really a big problem. And then going down to denial, what would you think are the reasons why somebody will tell will say no, I'm 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 not, this cannot be me. That's a denial part of it, isn't it? It cannot be me.
Yeah.
What do you think are the reasons?
So, like you
Like,
said, first of all, just understanding where people are coming from, because I'm trying as much as possible to put myself in the shoes of a lot of
in
people. Yeah.
mm-hmm,
So, first of all, I think that there's a lot of culture attached to this, and I'll get there subsequently. But there, people have different ways of coping with things. There's the
mm-hmm,
engagement part of things, and then there's the non-engagement part of coping with things like this. And there's so many processes that we can recommend in terms of, okay, this is the proper way to handle such a situation.
mm-hmm,
Now, some other people unfortunately fall under the non-engagement part of coping mechanisms. And
mm-hmm.
one of those things is denial.
Yeah.
So, yes. And for example, I'd say it's also a culture thing where, what you don't know cannot kill you. Statements like that.
Yeah.
Since I don't know, I cannot die.
Mm-hmm.
Let me speak in
Yeah.
a very Nigerian way.
Yeah. What I
So,
don't know will not traumatize me.
exactly. So I feel like, again, when I say it's a cultural thing, is that, and even a society thing, because we've not learned how to, not even just for the virus, we've not learned as people to kind of like cope with difficult life situations. These things are not taught in school. These things are
Yeah.
not even taught out of. So people don't know a better way. That's what I would say. People don't know
Yeah.
a better way to cope with such issues.
Yeah.
For them, this is a way of, whether we like it or not, it's a negative way, but it's a way of coping and
Coping.
addressing, yes, a situation. So if people are shown that, yes, you're coping, but you're not coping positively, this is the
Mm-hmm.
way to better cope. So
Mm-hmm.
again, it's lack of, I would say, uh, I won't call it emotional intelligence per se, but it's just something that society, for me, how I do things sometimes is, I think of very difficult situation. I put myself in those scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Just to, if this happens to you, how would you handle this? What would you
Yeah.
about things like that. One scenario I always used to play in my head when I was growing up was something as basic as, if you're confronted with a huge sum of money that's not yours to do
Mm-hmm.
something that you should not be doing, what would you do about it? So I put myself in that situation prior to, and it just teaches me how to cope with certain things when I come across it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just, people feel that's the best way to cope
Mm-hmm.
with knowing their status or something, and
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and for me, it's just to teach them that there are other ways
Yeah.
to to cope.
Yeah. And yeah, yeah, I also want to think that because denial is part of the stages which you go through when you are grieving,
Yeah,
and it's a necessary emotion to go through because whether it's HIV or so many other things, when they
yeah.
happen to you, what comes to your mind first thing is, no, this, it cannot be me. I, this
Mm-hmm.
cannot be happening to me. Are you sure those are my results? Are you sure? Are you sure it's me? So I think it's a human thing. And I usually say all these emotions that we go through when we are grieving, the denial, the anger, bargaining, it's they are necessary emotions, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time we really have to be careful how we are going through those stages, and making sure that we don't get stuck at any one point. But going through, if I meet someone today, right, who is HIV positive, and the person is still refusing, is still saying no, it cannot be me, I will not ask the person, why are you refusing? I will say, yes, it's valid, your emotions are valid,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
just make sure you process that denial aspect of
Mm-hmm.
it, and
Mm-hmm.
move on to
From
what
there.
you can do to help yourself, in order to be healthy again, in order to be better, in order to be happy
Mm-hmm.
again. Because when you are in that denial stage, that's when the anger also comes in,
Certain.
because you tend to be angry with your own self, then you
Mm-hmm.
tend to be angry with every other person. And then
Mm-hmm.
maybe if someone is positive, and they know exactly who they had it from,
Mm-hmm.
it's obvious that they'll be angry with that person because they may be like,
Mm-hmm.
you knew that you were positive. And so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. True.
yeah, so all those emotions, I would like to say they are necessary emotions, but you have to be very careful how you go around them.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think denial will affect the management of patients, of individuals who are HIV positive?
Yes, I think so. In just
Yeah.
very simple words, and,
Mm-hmm.
and and the reason being that again, that's why we tell people to always go for checkups and know what your status is, because one way or the other, knowing what your status is, you're able to live better. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's there are two angles to this. First of all, you as a person, you're taking a risk on your health
Yeah.
because denying means you're not taking your drugs.
Yeah.
Denying means that you're not living well in terms of your food consumption, your nutrition, you're not working on your diet and all that, which
Mm-hmm.
technically when you get your diagnosis, the things that you have to start doing has to be more intentional. In order
Mm-hmm.
for us to be healthy, we always have to build our immune system. So even
Yeah.
as people living without HIV, you still have to, be very conscious of your health and all of that type of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
even when you now get your diagnosis, you take it a step further by being intentional
Yeah.
about these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for your own sake, that even affects the quality of your life, because
Yeah.
again, we know there are different stages, and it can
Mm-hmm.
easily just move up to the next stage from you not accepting and taking the necessary action that you need
Mm-hmm.
to take. And then there is the other part of putting others at risk,
Yeah.
because um, yeah, especially if it's your partner or just family members living with you, at
Mm-hmm.
something as basic as COVID. When you know that you have COVID, you have to quarantine. And for HIV, of course, it's different. You don't have to do all of those distancing, but
Mm-hmm.
there are certain ways that you have to I guess live in it when you're in a very personal setting, or just even with your partner and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
There's use of maybe condoms and all of that. There's
Yeah.
you taking your antiviral drugs and
Yeah.
all to protect the person you're with. So those kind of
Mm-hmm.
actions are very necessary, and they only come by you accepting and
Mm-hmm.
that's, oh, this is the
Yeah.
situation of things, and this is how I'm going. This is where I'm going to go from here. And again, denial means that you're not disclosing to people close to you
Yes.
your status. And while you don't have to, I would say this essentially. You don't have to disclose your status to everybody,
Yeah.
but when you know your status, I feel like the first thing is to problem solve. Who do I disclose this to? How do I educate them? So you're not even just disclosing it to them. You're telling them,
Mm-hmm.
oh, there's no need to keep your distance from me, and all
Yeah.
of this necessary basic information you need to give
Mm-hmm.
them to understand what it is. And for some
Mm-hmm.
people, it works better, coming up with a statement, or coming up with maybe it's more intentional. I would say, what do I say to people? Who are the people I will tell? And all of
Yeah.
that. And you don't start handling that till you actually accept that this is what is going on.
Yeah, that's brilliant, and thank you so much for that. And denial, like you said, is actually putting yourself at risk and putting every other person around you at risk. Because I think when you know your status and you are positive, there are necessary steps which you have
Mhm,
to take
mhm.
in order to remain healthy and
Yes.
to also help others around you remain healthy. And if you are doing things, maybe avoiding or on for let's say not using the same cutlery with every
Mhm,
other person. You know how inquisitive children are nowadays. They want to know
mhm,
why you are doing particular things or doing certain
mhm,
things
mhm.
in certain ways. Yeah, as you said, while it's not necessary to tell everyone, but I think there are some key persons in your life which you really need to 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 tell them, because you may know that you may know your status and you are taking the necessary precautions, but the other people who do not
Person.
know may not be taking precautions as well. So acknowledging that you are positive and also informing key persons in your family, immediate friends, close friends, it's very necessary because you are also helping them. And like you said, education is very, very important. And to those around, I think this, what I'm about to say will be coming up towards the end, how we can support uh, um, HIV positive patients around us, be they friends, families, relatives, and etc. etc. I remember when I was growing up, a long time ago, there was a story. There was this married man. When he discovered that he was positive, he he didn't want to tell his family. He didn't want to tell his wife, but he suddenly just changed in he became very physical. Like he changed completely. He started beating up the wife out of nowhere, no reason at all. Everything, anything she says, it's a problem. So, I don't actually know how valid or how true that was, but it came up after he died, when people said that that was what he was suffering with. And and again, in a village setting, when you know that two people have been seeing each other, and then when one person dies, and then other people will start saying, I give that person one year or so or less, you'll be the next. You'll be the next on the list to go. Yeah, yeah. So sometimes it's good to know, at another time it's not really good, because
You know,
people can use it to blackmail others, people can use it to insult others, etc.,
that's true.
etc. So knowing and being able to educate those around us
Mm-hmm.
is really important. And us around, we also have to learn to understand
Yes.
what it is all about in other,
Mhm.
and what the signs are. I know we haven't really talked about signs and symptoms, or because we are talking today, we are not really having a conversation on the medical
Yeah.
aspect of HIV. And our aim is to give a voice to this topic, to make people feel comfortable, feel free talking about it, knowing that they will not be judged or
Mhm.
stigmatized. I mean, if we can sit anywhere and discuss other issues, why not HIV? Why not those other taboo topics that people think they are very taboo, or they're very painful? Oftentimes, we do appreciate the fact that some issues bring a lot of painful memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, they bring a lot of sad memories. But from my own experience, I know that once you give a voice to something, you are one step of
Yes.
getting healed, and another step to help heal another person who has had that similar experience.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so we continue. What would be your advice to someone who is denying their status? Someone, yeah, let's say you are a nurse, and you've just had this person's
Mhm.
result, and you've declared to them, you've given them, and they are absolutely in denial. What would be your advice?
I think the first thing I would say before even just walking them through like process to which to cope
Hmm.
would be first of all to it's not a death sentence.
Yes.
I think that is the wrong information that we've had, like, oh, this person has HIV, then they're going to die.
Die next day.
You understand,
Hmm.
people want to live in fact, even better than healthy people in the first place, because
Yep.
now they are more conscious, they're more intentional about what they take, and all of that, and they go on to live better lives.
Hmm.
And people feel like it reduces, and I'll kind of like talk about that in one of the process. I think you can deal with it, but
Hmm.
people feel like the quality of life is reduced.
Hmm.
Medically, I won't delve into that, but at the
Yep.
same time, people are scared of finding partners. The quality, there's a lady, I can't remember her name. She's very, or probably I would not call her name properly.
Yep.
She's on YouTube and she shares her journey, and I really love watching the videos of her and her husband, how she
Hmm.
discovered and all
Hmm.
of that. And for me, again, I feel like, just deviating a bit, I feel like a story is a very interesting one because it also explains that it's not always people that have been sexually promiscuous, as the word likes to thing, it was her first sexual experience, and the partner did not reveal to her that he had HIV, and that was how she,
Got it.
contracted it, and
Mm-hmm.
all, and so seeing such examples makes you understand that if people have proper understanding, she's
Mm-hmm.
married. That's one of the biggest fear of people. Can I have a job? No,
Yeah.
there are bodies that protect your rights, especially in very developed countries. Sadly,
Mm-hmm.
that may not be the case for underdeveloped countries, but
Yeah.
there are actually bodies, and you can get access to proper defense. When you can sue a company. If they discriminate against you, so
Yes.
that shouldn't change. First, having and so for me, I kind of like highlighted like seven different steps that, and I'll just run through them quickly. First of all, I'd
Mm-hmm.
say problem solving. Like I'd mentioned, who do you tell? How do you tell people, and all of that? When you
Yeah.
receive that, your results. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, another thing is emotional regulation. Like you have to do something that relieves you, and this is just, again, they're normal coping mechanisms that you use for issues of life, for any other thing. Do
Yeah.
you feel better when you take a walk? Do you feel better when you punch the wall? How would you relieve your stress? And
Mm-hmm.
then emotional expression, and that's when I would say, at this point, talk to somebody close to you. But if they cannot handle it, it's fine to see a therapist. And there
Mm-hmm.
is that patient client confidentiality that you're not scared of, like, oh, this person, go talk about my my status and all of that. So yeah, try talking to somebody or talking to a therapist. Also, positive reinforcement, positive thinking. This is not the end of me. And
Yeah.
as a Christian, I pull my own source from the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever, if you're a Muslim, wherever you'd like to draw from your strength from, positive affirmations and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And the opposite of denial, acceptance. Accept this is now my daily life, or this is my new normal, like we would
Yeah.
say. And you're able to better address things. And the last one I would say is live life, because again, it's not a death sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Go out there, do what you would typically do. I don't know about like how maybe people get very tired or fatigued after contracting the virus. I have no idea about that. But if you want to jump from a plane, not because you heard that, okay, you're positive, doesn't mean you shouldn't go ahead and do that. What is on your bucket list? What do you want to do? Write that book. Your
Yeah.
Yeah, live life normally. It's very difficult, since again, people around you may change, but again, what you put out there too has the ability. When people see, oh, this person is living life, this person is living normally, it has a tendency of
Mm-hmm.
affecting them too, and how they treat you. If you treat
Mm-hmm.
yourself like you're diseased or something, or there's something wrong with you and all of that, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's how people
So treat you.
technically would treat you.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, first of all, the work starts with you as a person, and then you can start working with other people. But you also have rights, and that protect you too. That's another side that people have to know in terms of discrimination and all.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that. And I do think that acceptance is equally a process. Eh,
Mhm,
Depending on people's past experiences, sometimes people face challenges. They handle difficult moments differently, and it differs. Grief differs from
mhm.
every individual. Sometimes some people need to go through it for a very long time in
Yes.
order to accept, and some would just be okay, this is my new me, this is my new normal, life
Mhm,
goes on. What do I do to make this life enjoyable?
mhm,
because because it's not like once you've been given the results, you're HIV positive, you're dying next day. It
mhm,
doesn't happen. It doesn't happen like that. And it does not necessarily mean that because
mhm.
you are HIV positive, you are going to die earlier than the person who is HIV negative.
Exactly. Very
Yes.
correct.
So, and we all know that it comes with shame as well. It's
Mhm,
same as any other medical condition, same as any other illness.
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
you need to take medication
Mhm.
to feel better. And I don't know exactly how much statistics is out there about this, but I do know that so many people have died, have died not really because of HIV or because of AIDS, but because of negligence,
Mhm.
because of this denial thing, and they don't want to accept it, or maybe they're too angry with the person who infected them, that
Mhm.
they'll be like, okay, I can't just leave, I can't leave anymore. They neglect themselves, they don't take their medications, and then they end up dying. So that, yeah, there's this statement, I cannot die alone. What do you think about that statement?
Oh my goodness. When
I'm
I
H-
saw that question,
I'm
to be
HIV. I'm
honest,
HIV positive. I cannot die alone. Some people must go down that 6 feet with me.
see,
what
like that, that
what do
was
you
what.
think?
Oh my goodness. Let me see if I can really answer that. But let me. I'm not sure I can, because
Mm-hmm.
then it just goes to. I feel like even with without having HIV or not, they're just. I don't want to call people bad, but we just have good and bad people. That's number one.
Yeah.
And and number two, like, we just have to understand where these people are coming from, right? In terms of
Mm-hmm.
this. So first of all, it's either, there's that bitterness against the person that like pass the virus onto them and all that, and it's a payback in some way. You can't pay the person back again. The person already has the virus.
You're
So
adding on top.
yeah, like, let me just give it to, this is like, deal with it. This is the same way I got it. Nobody told me, that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of these mindsets, I can't deal with the mindset itself, but I can deal with, like, where that reasoning is coming from. Some of this mindset is coming from not knowing that, again, like we said, it's not a death sentence per se.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you can still have that love that you want. If I cannot have
Mm-hmm.
that love, if I cannot have this, then nobody else will have it, type of
Nobody.
mentality. You're not, there's nothing necessarily changing per se. And
Mm-hmm.
I say this very carefully, because again, people are living with a lot of stress or difficulty that's come with, knowing their status. But
Mm-hmm.
those are things that you can work on. Those are things that I won't say you can't fix how people, but you can really fix how you view yourself, how things are working out or playing out for you. You can't fix
Yeah.
any other person. You can't
Mm-hmm.
control all of that, but you can
Yeah.
control how you feel about what is happening to you. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I think when we come across such people, we should empathy first of all is what I would say.
Yeah.
Even though it's hard,
Mm-hmm.
empathy, and just trying to, again, educate those people more, because like I said,
Mm-hmm.
these are the people that before they got it, they also look down at, oh, like, if you have it, you're promiscuous, you're this, you're bad,
Mm-hmm.
or all
Mm-hmm.
of those type of things. So it goes back to educating them again, and what I would only say, I leave them to God at this
Yeah.
point. That is
Yeah,
God,
it's it's really sad when you hear individuals making
Mm,
such a statement
mm,
that they will not die alone. Unfortunately, there are people out there like this. There are people who have done this,
mhm,
and they've infected poor innocent souls
mhm,
for no reason, just because of hatred, just because of anger,
mm.
and because
Yes,
they cannot process whatever thing they are going through. and
exactly.
and and sometimes I want to think that deep down there's fear, and it's manifesting itself in ways like that. So
Mhm.
they are actually afraid that, what if I go to bed today and I do not get up next day? So
Yeah. So
yeah. So,
that's the thing. Sorry.
mhm,
Yeah, that's like, you make it very, because the idea is, I'm not going to die alone. There's this loneliness, alone. I'm alone in this. I'm alone. I'm the only one that has the virus. I'm the,
mhm,
and that's why, if more people can reveal their status, like,
mhm.
again, in a very guarded way, of course, with
Yeah.
reason, like, there's this mindset of, and it's almost like, I don't want to I don't want to use the Bible, because I don't know if our viewers are Christians, but that's what I can relate to. That prophet that said, I'm the only one here. And there were a lot of other prophets. So you're not really
Mhm.
alone. That I'll say load mindset or mentality is
Mhm.
it's wrong. You have a community of people like
Yes.
that are living with the same thing and can relate, and you know you
Mhm.
can they can be your support system, and you
Mhm.
have not just that, you have family and friends that if only you take that step of revealing to them will show you that love that you need.
Mhm.
Not in all
Mhm.
cases, but
Yeah.
you would still see people that are accepting. There's still a community. There are dating sites for people living with HIV. A lot of resources, you know, to
Yeah.
just combat that mindset of you're not alone, so you don't have to drag people down with you.
Yeah, and sad enough that there are people who will not relate with another person who is HIV positive. I don't know how I will react in terms of relationships, but I do know that there are many out there who once they are dating someone and they hear that their HIV status, then you don't see them again next day and never. You don't see them. Doesn't mean that people with HIV status are undateable
Mm-hmm.
or what. Life continues in every aspect of it when you are HIV positive. So
Yeah,
it's just to know what to do, how to protect yourself, how to be healthy, how to live a healthy and balanced life, protecting yourself and protecting those around you. Let's give a few minutes of break. Then we look at the comments and appreciate those who have been writing the comments. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Thank you, William, and a second voice. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Vincent. And Nora, thank you so much for your comments. So we just have a look at a few of the comments. I think a few they've been tagging others to come along and watch. So so a second voice said this will help many families who are isolated and mistreated by other groups for disclosing. Yeah. So, which means when you disclose, then they indirectly tell you you were supposed to just be quiet about it and don't let anyone else. Then Vincent says, make every encounter count when you mend or talk with people living with HIV. And then he says, one life touched is 10 touched. Then William again says it's worth noting that HIV is not a death sentence exactly. It is possible to live your entire lifespan with HIV using the correct retroviral medication. That's brilliant, William. Thank you so much. And then he says it is good that they understand their viral load. Yeah, I'm not medical. I do understand what that is, but I cannot explain because I'm not the medical field. Then William says in Africa, there is this attitude that HIV shouldn't
Mhm.
have a cure because it is seen as a curse from God, a punishment for sin. Oh my God. Oh God. We still have a long way
Very
to go
true.
in changing mentalities, in changing
Mm-hmm.
mindsets about HIV in Africa. And then he says there's a lot of fear when it comes to testing because of the stigma.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love the
Yeah.
comments that are coming
Mm.
in. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's very educational too.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Then I know when you're going for testing, they usually have pre-counseling and
It's
post-counseling,
very
and
important.
then it gets worse when you meet that person who will chastise you and throw all insults at you before even testing.
Hmm.
And then what
That's,
when it comes out positive, then they just kill you
yeah,
at
they
the
kill
end with
everything.
with their words. And what were you thinking about? What the hell were you? So those things do not really help. So
Mm-hmm.
we really need good professionals
Yes,
who
very
have
much.
empathy, who are
Mm.
there ready to give that counseling, the pre-counseling and also the post-counseling, because some people may die just from knowing that they are HIV positive.
Yeah, and it's not a thing of, I think why people try to be condescending when it comes to like just counseling people is because they feel like it makes them morally upright or better. I
Mhm,
think that's why I'm saying that people don't necessarily understand
mhm.
the ways to which you can actually contract this virus. You know,
Yeah.
if
Mhm.
I get COVID, it wasn't because I was a bad person or like
Yeah.
I adhered to social distancing and some
Yeah.
other things.
Oh. Or
right?
that
So
you refuse to wear your mask and you kept going out,
you
going
know,
places. Yeah.
so like exactly, like what would you say about, I've seen a very a, a person in that middle age, right? And it was,
Mhm.
how did she contract it? Right from birth,
Yeah.
so yeah, it doesn't make you a morally superior person, and that's why I
Yeah.
say sometimes it's back to the culture,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's, yeah.
Yeah. And William also says most of our African films focus on people getting the
Hmm.
virus and dying.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the media the media portrays the virus as an end.
Hmm.
Yeah, which is really, really sad. At least we should be having more positive, a positive image of it
Hmm.
out there, that this person is living a good life, a healthy life, despite the fact that they are HIV positive. So he says testing and knowing can save your life and the life of others around you. And then yeah, because of the stigma, people would rather hide it and die than seek help and face the shame. Then, so another person says counseling is what is missing. Yes, and Nora, thanks so much for that. She says, yes, that's why I love diaspora. I am sure I'd, I
I've
am sure
fucking
I would
die.
not die from stigma if I was in Africa. They stigmatize everything down there. Honestly, you if I think you even have people who are pocketing their own issues and stigmatizing someone who has
Do
maybe
you
a minimal
understand?
issue.
Like I'm telling you, like the stigma is not just like it's a learned behavior that we have to unlearn. And the funny
Mhm,
thing about what I think William was saying was that African movies and all of that, and when you check the statistics, it's kind of like higher in the African American community and all of that, and that's
mhm,
because we are the ones that have that, cultural restriction where you can't talk about things is associated to God punish you for your sin and so many other
yeah.
things. So the numbers are really even climbing in like the
Mhm,
black society,
yeah.
and also yeah, it's
Yeah. And the fact that we place a lot of importance on our family status. What happens in this house stays in this house. You don't want to go and disgrace this family. The name the name of this family has we've spent years building this family, and you cannot just take your status and you spoil everything in one day. So family, they protect it a lot, the name of that family, big families, rich
yeah,
families. It's not possible that they should be having an HIV positive person in a very
mm,
rich family or in a royal family. So that it has to be hidden.
yes, very
And
true.
then yeah, then tell me how the rates of HIV or care for HIV people will ever get better if all the times we place a lot of emotions around these things. You don't have to talk about them. Just put it under the carpet and stay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
I I actually watched a movie a couple of weeks ago on
Hmm.
Netflix. It was also she's was a Nigerian movie. So from one of these royal families, and she had breast cancer,
Hmm.
but because they have that big family name and she's rich enough, then she couldn't believe that with all this money she won't be able to use that money to treat herself, because she had hidden the fact that she had breast cancer for a very long time. And and then by the time she went in to get help, it was already too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some will refuse to go to nearby clinics because they
Mm.
know, they say everyone in that
A
clinic
friend,
knows
yeah.
me,
Mm.
so I can't go there because they will. And again, it also boils down to those working there, because some of the
Mhm.
nurses or the doctors, they will not keep that confidentiality
Yes.
between the patient and the doctor or and the
And you
nurse,
can
because
still really.
yeah, but sewing as well needs money, and
Yeah,
unfortunately, not everyone
it really
will
has.
afford that to sew. So people really have to respect another person's confidentiality, because I won't come to you that I've
Mm.
come to do my HIV test. You do it, it's positive. The minute I'm leaving, you are already telling your neighbor next week, do you know that she came here like
Mm.
that and she's that she's HIV positive. So, yeah, so we really want to thank everyone who has contributed. And your mom says the media should be more positive in their approach because the media is a powerful medium for change. Thank you
Very important.
so much for that. Yeah. Then let's move on to our to I think it's our one of our last questions.
Mhm.
So what are some of the unhealthy practices by HIV patients that may shorten their lifespan?
That's a very medical question too. To a large extent.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
what advice can you give them?
so for me, I think again it's not really dwelling on the medical aspect because that's a lot of research I would say people should do, like what kind
Mhm,
of food to eat,
mhm,
exercise and all of that. But the first thing is you know that it's kind of like your immune system is broken down and can really fight,
yeah.
different virus or different things that your body may encounter. So it's just better
Mhm,
to take, things that will boost your immune system and also just take the necessary prescriptions that you've been given. But I would say again, like you said, the issue is not with denial or avoidance, or there are three things I feel like are very harmful, which is you're avoiding the situation, you're in denial, which is very connected, and you have wishful thinking that, oh, this is not me and all of that. For
mhm,
example, even in the religious setting, while I believe in healing and all of that, until
mhm,
you get that healing and you can go to one or two places and confirm that you've been healed, I'm not knocking off anybody from believing that you can be healed. I believe in healing, right? And
mhm.
until you confirm that, you have to live in the reality. Again,
Yeah.
it's a hard process, like you're saying, but
Mhm,
at the same time, you have to understand that it's also for, again, the time frame to which things can just go from level one to level two very, very quickly. And
mhm,
that's why we're saying, even though you can go through this stage of grieving, um, you have to also consciously know that it escalates. The very first stage, the very first beginning is more or less like a flu. You're
mhm.
not. It's
Yeah.
very major. That's a window for you to act. Even while you're keep pushing yourself, even while you're going through even if you're going through the motion, keep pushing yourself through that motion. Getting the right resources, I would say, is very helpful. Like I said, it's not just external people that need to educate themselves again. You need to do a lot of education. What should I eat? What vitamins should I take? All
Mhm,
of those type of things.
mhm.
I hope that's very helpful.
Yeah, and you talked about prayers. While prayers will help,
Mhm.
yeah, it's necessary that you do the action, you
Yes.
act.
Yes.
Yes, because prayers alone, not minimizing any. I'm also a
Hmm.
Christian. I'm
Hmm.
also a Christian, and I do know that having prayers alongside your medication,
Hmm.
alongside acceptance, alongside living a positive and a healthy life will help.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
we know that there are people who have ignored doctors, ignored medications, and they spend 24 hours in a church with pastors, and they're praying
Hmm.
and they're laying hands for HIV to be cured.
Exactly. That's.
Yes, we all know that God helps those who help themselves.
Hmm.
If you are praying
Hmm.
and you're not eating properly, and you are not taking your medications regularly, those prayers will not help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very
So
important.
they go hand in hand, people. It's very, very important. And I still believe so much is in it, so much in you telling close family members as well, because they may be able to help you. Okay, for example, if I do not know your status and then you fall sick today, we may just be giving you paracetamol, panadol,
Mhm.
thinking that it's just malaria, it's just a little fever,
Mhm.
but it's more. But
Mhm.
and if we already know that you are HIV positive, and once
Mhm.
you say, "Oh, I'm not feeling too okay today," then
I
you may
know
start
how.
thinking maybe there are the complications, or maybe
Yes.
the person has missed his or her medication.
Mm.
So then you start asking questions. How are you feeling? So shall we go to the hospital for for further checkups and etc. etc. So what would be your last word to, let's say, to the audience watching, to anyone out there who is HIV positive, and to their families and the community? What would be your last words?
Okay, so my word, first of all, which you kind of like talked a bit about it. So
Mhm.
earlier on, you said like the family kind of like suppresses. There's a culture of silence back,
Mhm.
especially back home in Africa. People
Mhm.
do not speak up, and not just because of the family, but because of like, oh, we have this thing, we have to bear everything alone. There is
Yeah.
this level of toughness, and that's why domestic violence sometimes thrives back. There's this society of secrecy. You don't
Exactly.
have to, yeah, again, my thing is you don't have to disclose to everybody, but
Mhm.
you need that support system.
Yeah.
So try and get, it's very helpful, and the support system, like I said, can come in the form of talking to close relative, close family and friends, or just going for counseling.
Mhm.
Therapy is something we demonize in back. it's
Yeah.
it's it's not bad. Like, there are times you need to, so there are times I need to make decision. I'm like, this one is above me right now. I need to, and for somebody that prides herself in making good decisions, sometimes I'm like, I need to think this through with somebody. I need to talk this
Yeah.
through with someone. We're
Mhm.
created, and that's why I'll go back to COVID. That's why like, a lot of people are depressed this period, because we are built as social beings, to have that interaction with people, to hug, so you just imagine you living in silence. That chips away more at you than what is really even going on.
Mhm.
The virus. So I would say people should learn to speak up, and it applies for any other case. It's not just HIV, it's rape, it's domestic. For somebody to pull you out, sometimes you can't pull yourself out easily. So for somebody to reach out and grab you, they really need to know what you're going
Mhm.
to be able to do that. So that would
Yeah.
be one in terms of addressing anybody who is positive. And then secondly, I say that it's back to society as a whole, family and friends. We have a duty, we have a responsibility to read and understand.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I come from a family where I was able to understand this early on. We did have like somebody, an extended family member, go through this.
Mhm.
And for me, I've been around them, I've acted normal around them, because again,
Yeah.
I kind of like learned that from just the kind of family that I was born into. And sometimes
Mhm.
you don't have that privilege. So it's a lot of education. And even being born
Yeah.
into that family, I've taken time as an adult to read up on this thing. Like, if you open my browser, you see all this research and all of that, and you
Mhm.
think, why is she reading this? It's our collective,
Knowledge.
yes, exactly.
Mhm.
It's our collective responsibility, for
Mhm.
us to be aware, so we can better care and support people that are going through things like this. For me, this is not my area of specialty, but it's just the little I've been able to read, and I think everybody, and from there we can change the mindset of, it's not a death sentence. Again, very
Mhm.
important. And so both society and, let's let it be normalized.
Mhm.
And in normalizing it, you would see that the rate of, people getting HIV would decrease.
Yeah.
And yes, that's what I would advise anybody around: educate yourself. It's your duty. Don't think that it's not affecting somebody close to me, or it's not affecting my family or anything like that. It could be you. Yeah, and
Mhm.
I know we say, if somebody says that they'd like to fiakwa, God forbid.
God forbid, cannot
like
be me.
like it
Eh,
cannot be me.
no, I place the blood of Jesus upon my family. Says never.
Exactly. It can be done. In some way, you would
Yeah.
need that empathy to, you need that love and support.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
reach out to people, check on people, and try and, if things are not working, we can stay and say how things are failing. There is no system, no structure in certain countries. How can you help now that you know better, you have more information, you're even living
Mhm.
with the virus? How can you make an impact, in
Yeah.
society? create a group of two, three people on WhatsApp, checking on them, and
Exactly.
you know, yeah.
Mhm. Oh, that's really brilliant. Thank you so much. And you mentioned about the silence culture, and like it's not only about HIV, it's, as you said, domestic violence and so many other things. Sometimes you get too used to a situation where
Mm,
you tend to think that it's normal. You just get too used to it, and everything around you just seems that okay, that's supposed to be, it's supposed to be happening like that. That's what is happening to every other person around you, which is why it's very important to reach out to people who are facing similar experiences like yourself. You join, there are so many groups, there's so many online communities with people who have either had experiences with
mhm,
such things, or they are currently having
yeah,
experience, or they know someone they can refer you to. Sometimes you just need to talk, to
mm,
share, and then another person will say, oh, you and you too and you
yes,
too. Then it becomes like we are a family, we are a community where
yeah,
we can help, where we can help each other. So if you are someone who is feeling isolated, feeling stigmatized, or facing discrimination because of their HIV status, there are just so many things you can do not to feel like that anymore. I know it comes with shame. Yes, that's normal, one of the emotions, but you still go through it. They usually say you can change your pain into gain.
mm,
You can use your experience, no matter how sad, no matter how bad it is, and do something positive in it. No
mm,
matter how sad that situation is in, if you look beyond that experience,
mm,
you will see a bigger picture. You see
mhm,
something positive in it, which is why I always say every experience should not be underestimated, because every
mm,
experience lived, it's valuable, it is worthy, and it has the power to transform lives. This applies to everyone who has faced any challenging or any complex life issue. It applies to each and every one of us. So, because sometimes when we are going through difficulties, we already think that's the end of our lives, that's the end of it. So we can just stop there and stay there in sadness, stay there in anger, in and then you end up getting depressed. And then you end up being placed on antidepressants. And then so many other complications come in the end. But it's necessary. I will say, and I'm really proud to say this, that there is power in your voice, in
mm,
speaking out. There's power in talking to somebody else and sharing your experience, because you start by healing your own self. And then one friend once told me that the moment where you share your story without shedding a tear, you've reached a point of healing. And this also applies. And I hope and I guess that each and every one of you watching today, you've learned and you've unlearned one thing today. Before we go, there are some unhealthy coping mechanisms which I will not go without mentioning them here, which they are very bad.
mm,
Unfortunately, sometimes people dwell on them in order to feel better. Unfortunately, whatever they do, the things only numb the pain, but after that, it comes back. And one of the unhealthy coping mechanisms is burying their pain, burying their status in a bottle of beer, drinking and drinking. And let me just drink this pain. Let me just drink this thought of HIV positive away. It will not solve anything. It may even worsen your health condition at that moment, and it will only numb whatever you are feeling at that moment. But once your mind clears, everything comes back. It's still right there. Yeah. And
mhm,
then some will, like we mentioned earlier, I'm not going to die alone. Some will engage in unhealthy sexual activities. I will date anyone, I will sleep with anyone, so that they too, they should be they should be positive just like myself. They should feel the same pain like myself. That's not really healthy.
mm,
Once you know that you are you are HIV positive. You accept, you acknowledge the fact that this is my new me, this is my new normal, this is my new reality, and I am going to face life with this from then onwards. So just your final word, and then we say bye. So we've been live for about 1 hour, 9 minutes. So just your final words, and then we
Um,
go.
so for me, I would say stay positive. That is very weird, but there's always, like you said, there's always a reason as to why certain things happen to us. And some people believe in the mystical and all that, but it can just be to be there for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like the lady I said I really like on YouTube, I see how
Mm-hmm.
she's helping so many other people. She's taking people through a journey of how she spoke to her mom, how she was able to also remind her mom that it's not a death sentence and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
again, just pulling from scriptures, we're here for such a time as this.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's just look at it. It's very hard to do, but look beyond yourself. And um, his name is kind of like skipping Chad, the actor in Black Panther. He was going through a very, very, severe
Wow.
cancer. Let's just say, but he lived a
Mm-hmm.
impact. And he was
Mm-hmm.
always positive. He had the right people around him, and he touched he touched the world, even like through his death. So
Yeah.
just keep being positive and living a life of impact. And remember that it's not a death sentence. A lot of people get to live longer than even people that don't have HIV. So
Yeah.
it's what you make of it. So just stay positive.
Yeah, positivity and maintaining a healthy lifestyle as well.
Mhm.
It's very, very necessary. And so many people have said in their comments that HIV is not a death sentence. I think it's actually the beginning of life
Mhm.
to some. If
Mhm.
you believe in turning your pain into gain, turning your
Yes.
mess into a beautiful message,
Mhm.
yes, it
Mhm.
happens. It may sound like it's very easy, it's an easy thing to do, but it
No,
takes time.
it's
as
supposed.
as long as you acknowledge, you accept, and you know that this is how it's going to be. Yeah, I know that you can use your experience, no matter how difficult it is, to
Mhm.
turn it into something positive. Like I turned my grief into grit, which is
Awesome.
my which is the title of my book. So guys, I just want to thank you so much for watching today. Today, we've talked about HIV stigma, denial, and unhealthy coping mechanisms. And we thought we talk about HIV because the 1st of December is celebrated worldwide as World International AIDS Day, to commemorate the lives, to commemorate
Mhm.
those who are living with HIV/AIDS, and also to pray and to celebrate those who have died because of it. And so many charities, so many organizations come together. They raise awareness, they raise funds to help other people in other countries who are HIV positive, and also to bring up educational topics to raise more awareness on this topic. And that's one of the reasons we are doing here at the Voice of Hope Media, raising awareness, educating, encouraging, empowering, inspiring, then giving hope to those who are living with HIV/AIDS, that you should know that you can speak up, speak out, know that there are people who will hear you, and they will not stigmatize or judge you. You just need to open up to someone you trust. And then if you are listening and you are struggling, try it, and then go back and look within yourself. You will see that there's a difference just from speaking with another person, just from opening up.
Mhm.
So we wish you a happy weekend. And Mercy, I'm so grateful for Mom's representative and Mom
I
Stella. And Mom Stella Ebuetse, thank you so, so much. In fact, I'm going to come back to your messenger and we'll
know.
talk more. But,
Okay.
Mercy, before you go, I if you contact me on Messenger, then you give me your link. to your
Okay.
blog. Yeah, you also mentioned that you are a blogger. So will it be okay for you to put the link to your blog here? So
Okay.
if anyone is interested, yeah, and after the or in the comments box, you put it there. And
Um,
I know many people will be interested too.
yeah, this is my first time of using this web uh
Okay.
service, and I'm not sure if
Uh-huh.
I can see comments, but I don't know if I'll be able to post the comments. I'm not
Okay,
very sure.
then maybe after the show, you just go
After,
on the comment section, and
okay.
then you add you add the link to your blog, because I personally would like to connect with you, and I know
Okay.
people out there will also want to. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you again on the show.
Yes.
Not being referred by mom, but I'll have
Thank
to
you.
personally come to you and come on, girl, we need you on the show again. So thank you so much, and
Thank you
have a
for
great
having
weekend.
me. I had so much fun. Thanks to everybody for joining in too.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we went to Nigeria, to Niger, to Fiakwa. It's
You
not happening
don't
in
like
my
what
it's not happening in my family. Not yeah. You want to put shame to the family name. Anyway, it happens. So with time, these mentalities are really going to be we hope that these mentalities will be changed, and topics like this, issues like this will be embraced more. And also not only the topics, but the individuals facing
yeah,
these challenges, the individuals going through these challenges, we should be able to embrace and accept them
yeah,
as well for whatever they are going through. And another thing too is knowing exactly what to say to someone who is HIV positive, what to say
mhm,
and what not to say,
yeah.
because there are so many people out there as well who are so insensitive. Somebody will come and tell you, "Don't worry, God not dey give you something where you know if you carry them."
I know.
Damn. Anyway, we can go on and on
Yeah,
now. So you have a good day, and
thank you very
thank you
much.
so much, everyone. And stay blessed. It's been AC bringing you Let's Give It a Voice here at the Voice of Hope Media. So we give a voice to HIV stigma, denial, and unhealthy coping mechanisms. We talked quite a lot, and I really do appreciate those who are watching, and lots of messages, and I know we've learned and we've unlearned quite a lot. If you are watching and you are an HIV patient, I do not expect you to come on the show, but if you feel like coming onto the show, you are welcome. You talk about your lived experiences. That's one way of healing. But if you cannot come onto the show, yes, look beyond that HIV status, look beyond that positive status and see what you can do with that experience. Do not stay in silence, do not bury your emotions. Speak up, speak out. Know that there are people out there who will hear you and who will not judge or stigmatize you. So have a good weekend. Stay blessed. Stay tuned. It's been AC, the leading voice of hope and empowerment to individuals and families facing challenging and complex life issues, including special educational needs. Stay tuned. Bye bye.